Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the episode on Ground Zero, where we're talking with Tim Watson. He's transitioned from a business owner over to helping entrepreneurs reach their goals. Do you want to tell me a bit about yourself, Tim?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Ben. Happy to be here and talking. Yeah, my background is in technology and marketing. My degree back in the day was in electronic engineering and ran various teams, software teams, development teams, moved progressively more commercial into the marketing area. And then in year 2000, as part of a startup with three other guys, after about 6 months, I realized I didn't really share the vision for that business and
Mhm.
made an agreement to exit, help them to get to where I said I'd get them to, exited that. And then in 2004, with a couple other guys, a couple other friends, as a startup business, which grew really well. We sold that business in a trade sale after a fairly short period, and I stayed with the acquiring company about 4 more years before exiting and doing my own thing again. So that's kind of bit of my experience, background there. Privately, I've got a 19-year-old daughter who's at university currently.
Mhm.
It's a little bit about me.
Well, so we'll move on a little bit. Why don't you tell us your first experience being a business owner?
Sure, yeah. So, well, I was part of a business in
Mhm.
2000 with a couple of three other guys, but actually, I guess my first entrepreneurial experience of being a business owner was a side hustle in the late 1990s. So I developed some niche software, actually for my wife, and realized that she had a big need for it, and she really found it helpful to realize that there was a market there probably for this software. So I started marketing that software as a side hustle. That generated a nice high five-figure income.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I was selling it online. It was, late 1990s, so it was kind of like internet was starting to kick in and starting to move. That was before the days of e-commerce solutions like Shopify and BigCommerce. It was put it together yourself. So, working out how to integrate payment systems into a very kind of basic website. Put that together, built it from
Mhm.
scratch, and started marketing out the solution. And yeah, worked great. Um,
So what was the purpose of the software exactly? Was it a payment system for e-commerce or?
no, no, no. I integrated with a third-party payment system
Okay.
or sell the software.
Okay, got you. Got you.
Yeah.
So obviously you've gone from this side hustle to going through with other people through business. Obviously, from business owner to helping other business owners, that's quite a different task. So, how was the transition like? How's I guess what I'm getting at is how did you bridge over the gap of being a business owner to helping others?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So as I said, in 2004, part of a startup business, which I exited after 4 years after we sold that business, and saw an opportunity to start up my own thing again. So
Hmm.
started up a digital marketing consultancy business, which again, there was another niche for that. So I started that business, ended up with international clients. One of those was a business in America,
Hmm.
a very good client who I ended up doing revenue with them of about £750,000.
Hmm.
So, they were pretty significant piece of business for me. Um, and the owner there in 2015 said, "Hey, Tim, you've got to read a book called Traction by Gino Wickman." Traction by Gino Wickman. One to hand, strangely enough. Um, Said it describes the entrepreneurial operating system. See what you read it, see what you think. And I read it and I went, oh, I like this. I think this solves a lot of the problems I'd seen in previous business experiences.
Hmm.
Um, Organizing, prioritizing, structuring the business, getting processes in place, getting the right people into the right seats,
Hmm.
um, getting effective management meetings, which didn't bang on for hours, which were kind of a regurgitation of previous management meetings that actually achieve something. Um, and that and Entrepreneurial Operating System or EOS described in Traction started using that with other businesses and found that worked. And I got to the point where deciding that's where I should really put all my energy,
Hmm.
and switch to, helping people run a better business, having found that this was the way to do it, or the best way to do it that I knew. So then I switched to helping entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurs, be successful in their businesses. And that really came from, that transition, or that impetus came from two frustrations that I had. One was, or two things I should say. One was frustration, and the other was revelation. So the frustration was doing the, helping people with their marketing, digital marketing was,
Hmm.
frustrating at times, because I would, be asked to come in and work out what strategy they should follow and what they should be doing that they're not currently doing, or what they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, maybe, as
Hmm.
well. And I'd go in, lift the drain covers, have a look what's going on, work out what should be going on, go back to the business and present a, strategy and set of recommendations, which they invariably said, "Oh, this is fabulous. This is way more than we were expecting you to be able to do for us. We need to get on with this. We totally get it. We understand it. We need to get on with this." And as you're kind of walking out the door, you kind of get this sense of the dust was already collecting on it, like, are they
Yeah.
really going to get on with this? I'm not sure that they are. It's like they said they are, but it's like knowing how businesses work, they're not going to get traction on it. They've paying for it, and I don't like people, getting people to pay me
Hmm.
money and then they don't get value from it. So it was frustrating in that respect.
Yeah.
That's like, and it was frustrating because, like, why the hell are people asking me to do something and then they don't actually take the benefit from it? So that was frustrating. And
It's like they bought into the product but didn't use the product.
yeah, basically, yeah, it's
Mm.
like they bought the product and then it just got dusty.
Yeah.
Exactly that, Ben. Yeah.
And going back to the start, which is very similar to a question I asked that led to this, is which I think the viewer would find interesting, is you mentioned that your first client was in America, was it?
No,
Or one of the first was in
um,
America?
the big client, yeah, yeah, in
Yeah.
America.
So ma my question is, how did you bridge that gap? Because obviously we're from the United Kingdom. How did you bridge that gap from here to America?
Uh, what, physically
Wa-
or
Was it like through marketing and social media, or was it through you met someone in America?
Oh, I see. How did I get
Yeah.
connected? You mean? That was through LinkedIn, actually. They found me. So this was, kind of, LinkedIn's changed over the
Hmm.
years, but back in the day, you could have LinkedIn discussions and so on. And I was, you know, using my skill and expertise and answering questions in various forums on LinkedIn. And they saw it and they went, "This guy seems to know what he's talking about." And they reached out and said, "Hey, can you help us?"
Okay. And so, what was your first experiences and lessons with helping the entrepreneurs? Because obviously, I assume from going from a business owner to helping different scenarios, you obviously learned something that maybe you didn't know beforehand.
Yeah. So, in terms of, being a leader of a business, it's all about setting direction, setting
Hmm.
vision, making sure people know what they're doing, making sure the right things are in place, and showing people the way. Sometimes you have to be the answer man, or the answer person, I should say. Um, though you obviously, if you're wise, you take input from everyone
Hmm.
around you and understand everybody's point of view. Bit like if you ever watch Apprentice, when Alan Sugar turns
Yeah.
to Karen Brady and to Tim Campbell now and says, "Just want to hear your opinions, as to what you think here. By the way, I'm going to make my own choice, but I want to hear what you're saying, and then I will make my choice, having heard that."
Hmm.
So it's a bit like that when you're a leader, is gather the opinion and then decide on the direction based on the information you've got. Whereas helping other entrepreneurs and helping people implement, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, it really, I'm a teacher, facilitator, and coach. The biggest change was I had to stop trying to lead the business, or stop trying to tell the business owner what they should do, because in reality, business leaders and owners are experts of their own business. And, to sort of think that you know better than them as to what their business should be doing is really a little bit arrogant, because they know it better. They've been doing it for years and years and years. But what you do is you teach them the tools in EOS, which are simple, practical tools that help them get clarity on their vision, help them get discipline and accountability, so traction on that vision, and help them create healthy, cohesive, functional teams that work well together. So that's the three things that EOS does. It gets you vision, traction, healthy. So teaching those tools, showing them how to use them to help them be more successful and get focus and discipline in the business, and then facilitating the leadership team, so getting everybody on the same page. Because the wisdom's normally in the room, right? When I'm working with leadership teams, they know what they're talking about, and 90% of the time the answers are there. I just have to get everybody to be on the same page with the answer and agree that how they're going to go and execute on those answers. So that's the biggest change, was going from being sort of telling people what to do in a sense as a leader and manager, to actually helping others reflect and see the answers and find the answers themselves and get them onto the same page, and
So
then
you
coach them.
so
Because
you say that's the biggest difference between the two is one, you're an expert in your own field, you make your decisions, and the other, you're helping them reflect and sort of make sure they make the right decisions instead of taking over and saying, no, you need to do this, that, and that to get this.
yeah, so it's absolutely 100% right. So and I do see sometimes stuff that they may not be seeing. I work with a lot of entrepreneurial teams, lots of experience over the years. So I sometimes see stuff which, I think, is that right? Doesn't feel right, doesn't smell right to me. Let me just ask some questions. So rather than tell them kind of, I think you should be doing this because that doesn't feel
You
right,
give them like a little nudge,
give them a
like
nudge. Yeah.
like,
In a
hey,
sense,
this could be wrong. Have a look at it. Sort of.
yeah, kind of like that, but usually through open questioning.
Mm,
So getting curious, digging in, asking them questions, and depending on what they say, you keep picking at it. It's like, with children who ask why 5 times, you have to keep asking, why is it like that? And you say
mhm.
it has to be complex. Why does it have to be complex? Explain that to me. And then they start talking, and suddenly the answers pop out, and they go, "Oh, actually, we could be doing this, or we should be doing that, or whatever." So by digging at it and picking at it, you can get them to find their answers.
Mm.
Um, People talk about coaching as being holding up a mirror to themselves, so they can see themselves better.
So, what was the inspiration of the change? Because obviously, you've gone from potentially launching businesses of your own in the future to essentially taking a step down, being like, I want to actually help people. So, what's the inspiration between the change?
Uh, I I I guess I really like challenging and learning new
Hmm.
things. One of the things that motivates me is doing stuff I've not done before. And after many years of kind of running business, being my own boss like that. So I am still my own boss. I still run my own
Hmm.
gig. Um, it's really kind of the change and the challenge of helping others, which is really satisfying and fulfilling, because I like to do stuff I enjoy doing. That's
Hmm.
really important. Um, you know, Earning the money is great, but that's not the primary reason.
Hmm.
Primary reason is to do fun stuff and challenging stuff that I find rewarding. And the money comes as a result of that, typically, thankfully. So it was really, a new passion, newfound passion, if you like. Like, hey, this is really good fun working with lots of other people, and you get a
Hmm.
buzz from seeing other people succeed and doing well, and they're really very grateful for it.
Hmm. So, how important in the process of transition is networking and building relationships? And do you recommend building the connections?
Uh, Really important.
Mm,
It's critically important. I mean, business is built on trust,
yep.
and you get trust through relationships, and relationships, for B2B stuff, relationships come over time. You've got to get to know people, get to know their challenges, help them, uh, get them to trust you to the point where they go, particularly with what I do, which is, pretty significant in terms of people inviting me into their leadership team, to help them run a better business. That's a pretty big, significant step for someone to make. It's like they're not going to trust any old idiot with that. So they really have to trust you first, which comes through being, generous with helping people.
Mhm.
Don't expect something from them before you've given something to them, if you
Yeah.
like. Rule of reciprocity. And also, it's show your expertise. Don't, show, don't tell, as they say, which is don't just try sell, sell, sell. Hey, you should do this. You should buy from me. You should get this in. This is going to be absolutely brilliant. This is awesome. Best thing you could possibly do. It's like just show it to them. Show them your expertise. Say, look, this is what I do, and this is how I do it, and these are the results. And show them the tools. Explain how they, help them overcome a few challenges. And then at some point they go, wow, that's really great. If you know all of that and you can help me with that, you can
Mhm.
probably help me with a whole ton more. Come on in. A bit like, that talking about that client in America on LinkedIn, where,
Mhm.
that they came to me because they could see I had expertise from, the way I was talking in the forums and helping people and making, really solid recommendations. So
So yeah,
by, showing that expertise, show, don't tell, or
so yeah,
show,
so
don't sell
so
rather.
taking like the platform LinkedIn, for example, so instead of just posting out all your knowledge, potentially doing a few posts to show it, but also commenting on others to help them as well. So it's sort of that mutual balance to grow the connections.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to um, post useful information. Don't go like, hey, I just thought, maybe you don't know what I do here. So this is what I do, blah, 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 sell, sell, sell. It's like
Mhm.
really helpful value added posts, something with useful content, something that someone can make them stop and think, something that someone can take away from and go, that made me think, that inspired me, that helped
Mhm.
me. So this person's a good person rather than just kind of like a sell, sell, sell message. And as you say, also commenting on other posts and where you see other posts where you can actually add value to it, comment and add value to that post.
Mm. Yeah, no, because one thing I found on LinkedIn, which is absolutely horrendous, is you like either connect with someone or they follow you. You haven't even had a single conversation, you haven't posted anything to them, and they just instantly go, like, I'm a SEO specialist and I'll take your website to the moon or whatever. And it's like, I haven't even talked to you, I don't know who you are, and you're already trying to like chuck something in my face to buy from you.
Yeah,
And I,
I absolutely doesn't work, does it?
if anything, it does the opposite effect. I just unfollow and unconnect with them because it just screams desperacy. There's no rapport built there. There's
Yeah,
no trust that I've seen. And it's like, if that's the first thing you're trying to get out of me, what is the point of this connection?
yeah. It's a hard sell, and hard sells don't really work.
No.
You got to show your prowess, show your expertise, let
Mhm.
people get to know you, trust you, and then they'll start talking to you. You can start talking to them in a different way.
So we've talked about obviously how the transition's been, how there's been success from it, but what are some pitfalls to avoid when transitioning from being obviously a business owner to helping entrepreneurs?
Uh, well, probably the biggest one I had was you know making sure I wasn't trying to be a consultant because there's people
Yeah.
misunderstand this. People sort of talk about, so you're a consultant? Go, no, I'm not. You got teaching, facilitating,
Mhm.
coaching, and consultant. So consultant is someone you employ to tell you what to do. And there's a
Yeah.
time when that's appropriate. There's a place for a good consultant. Teaching is telling someone that some new topic and leaving them to work out how to apply it. Facilitating is more helping people, understand how to use that information you're giving to them. Kind of as is coaching really, which is helping people apply information
Mhm.
and tools or knowledge. So, trying not to be a consultant probably the biggest challenge I had. Because I was working with a set of tools that I knew and trusted, as in
Mhm.
EOS, being used thousands of times, and I'd used it myself and found that it did work. So, I was that the product or the service was not the challenge, but it was like, how can I work with people and present it in a way that's they're going to be able to take it on board?
Yeah. And nextly, really, how do you see the landscape of entrepreneurship evolving? Is there any opportunities or transitions present, or is there for like former business or leaders really? Because at the minute, obviously, it's quite e-commerce, build a store, sell. Is that the future of entrepreneurship, or do you reckon it will transition into a more providing services or just a more variety than just build a store, put a product on it, sell it, make some money?
Uh, well, there's certainly, there's certainly a lot of that going on, right? But um, it's innovation, I think, is the key here.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, do you want to be selling, PP3 batteries or whatever? I'll set up a store and sell batteries. It's like, okay, there's thousands of people doing that. What are you going to do that's different? How are you going to innovate? What do
Mm.
you, how are you going to
Just
do something which is distinctive?
because at the minute, the classic method is you get a Shopify trial. I think it's like for 3 months, £1. Get that up, you build the store in the first month, essentially, get all the social medias done. You find the products which you typically would get off like the usual like AliExpress,
Yeah.
whatever, from Chinese factories for cheap. You then ship it on demand to the people, and it's just all build a store, get it cheap, fly it to the moon, and as soon as it drops, drop the store, build your next one. So it's all like sort of trend hopping, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and then that's kind of race to the bottom stuff, as I say, which is
Hmm.
basically you're competing on price.
Yeah.
There can only be one person who's the cheapest. And as soon as you're not the cheapest, then your sales are going to plummet like crazy.
And
Um,
and
but is
it's
that an opportunity? I'd say that's, for me personally, I would say that's not a great business model to get into.
no, and unfortunately that's the main one. And it's not only that, most trends you're competing with wholesalers as well. Like for summer, you might have like, I don't know, some rubber rings that go popular. Okay, you can buy one at Asda for £5. So it's a very, very popular method of entrepreneurship, but I wouldn't say it's the best one you could do by a mile.
No, I think you've got to have some kind of twist, some innovation,
Yeah.
something truly kind of unique that other people aren't doing. If I was to take an example, in my experience, was I needed some replacement parts for my
Mhm.
sliding shower door. Um, and it's like, okay, do I have to end up buying like a £200 new shower door, or can I get just the sliders which were
Mhm.
broken? And I did some, well, I'll have a look around on the old internet, see if I can find the right part. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know where this shower door comes from. I had minimal information. And I found a website that was specializing in parts, and they did an absolutely fabulous job of explaining the part, having the pictures
Mhm.
of it, so you could actually match it up and work out, is this the right thing? Is this actually the replacement part, or is this the wrong thing? So they had fantastic diagrams, information, videos. So that, they'd innovated considerably around making it easy to find the right part for that type of thing. They did a few domestic things, but that was different because most people would have just kind of, chucked 1,000 SKUs onto Shopify,
Yeah.
and then you kind of like, I can't find the part with that, but they've made it easy to find the right part, and so
Yeah.
that was the innovation, and that's why they sold to me.
So because this is like sort of the main one at the minute in terms of people going into entrepreneurship, I would say it's because one, it's the easiest, and two, it's probably the most secure. I mean, you just build a cheap website, you put products on it, you don't pay up front, you get the products in. So rather than as because most people do it as a start because it's so easy, maybe instead of just focus on getting the products in, sell it, maybe focus on the navigation of the site, the ease of use, and the customer service to help the customers rather than here's a cheap product, buy it for 15 quid more than what you could do. I'll take my profit margin, job's done. There you go.
Yeah, for sure. But that's only if you're trying to get into the consumer
Yeah.
market space. Obviously, there's lots of businesses created which are providing services,
Hmm.
non-product stuff. And yeah, if you want to get into consumer market, selling PP3 batteries or whatever, then
Yeah.
you know that's kind of the model. But it's not the only type of business. You can innovate in lots of other types of business. There's lots of services,
Hmm.
whether it's marketing services, marketing agencies, accountancy, lawyer, whether it's kind of developing new products yourself. which is where you know really kind of make the money if you own the intellectual property, and you can innovate, create a new product. You know, you work with wherever, Chinese factory to develop that product, and you get it out there. Then you've got something
Mm.
which you're not race to the bottom on because you're not competing.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you've got to have some kind of thing that you're doing that other people aren't doing, and you need to have a very clear niche. So, like, you know, one of the things I found, like with that side hustle business and the other business experiences, if you have a really clear niche that you're going for, then it makes it so much easier to develop that business because you
Mm.
know where to market, you've got a defined audience, you know your
Yeah.
geographic, demographic, psychographic makeup of the ideal prospects. You can go after them, chase them because you've only got limited marketing budget, right? You know, you can't try and, as they say, you try selling to everybody. Oh, my product, it's suitable for everybody. I
Yeah.
don't have a target market. Anyone in the world could buy this. Go, okay, now try marketing that. You're going to try and sell it to anybody? It's going to cost you a fortune. It's not going to
Mm.
work. You're going to have to narrow it down to a very specific market segment where you can, you know, have developed case studies, assets, material, PPC campaigns. You know, you try doing SEO for anybody anywhere. You've got to, you know, you can't do it. You've got to have a really clear niche.
Yeah. One bit of advice I had when I was going through my A levels was one of my business teachers said, instead of just marketing to the world, imagine you wanted to buy this product. What would be the ideal person? What do they look like? Like they went into the like most ridiculous thing, like what eye color do they have? What height are they? What are their interest? It's basically like so you get an idea of the perfect person, and then from there you can market to them instead of just anyone.
Yeah, it's quite 100%. Yeah, absolutely. You know, talk about buying personas, which
Mm.
for me personally, I think sometimes goes a little bit too far. It's like eye color? No,
Yeah,
really, that's
I
not.
did. Yeah, it is ridiculous, but he was like because the more in detail you go, the narrower it gets, and the more value you'll get out of your ad spend or whatever you're doing.
I mean, for me personally, you know, you've got to hone in on what the ideal, you know, demographic, geographic,
Mm.
psychographic makeup is to be able to get the message right. But if you start going, well, you know, I'm really after blue-eyed people, it's going like, is it really true? No.
Yeah.
I think where it comes in handy, potentially is if you're, you know, writing content and
Mm.
you can picture the person in your mind you're writing to. Because if you're trying to write to a, you know, to a nobody or to an everybody, it's really
Yeah.
hard to write the content. But if you've got a picture in your mind of the person, like, you know, I can see this person is called, you know, they're called Ben. They're probably in their early 20s. You know, their experiences are they love wearing headphones, you know, whatever. Great. Now I can write content for this
Hmm.
person. So I
Okay.
think that's kind of where it maybe helps. But I think people get a little bit too going a little bit too far with that for my taste anyway.
Yeah. And would you say going too far is like bad in a sense, or do you think it's like is it too far getting to the point where it could negatively affect, or do you reckon it could positively affect something?
Negatively. I mean, first of all,
Yeah.
it's a waste of time and resources because you're going to spend like 10 times longer working out who your target market is when you really just need the basics to get you into the right area. So I'm a great
Mm.
believer in not trying to be a perfectionist, which is kind of one of my faults, is like I try to be perfect. And you've got to not be perfect, you've just got to have progress. And if you can get
Mhm.
80% right, then trying to get 100% right, that extra 20% you're going to spend ages getting there. It's going to make things 10 times more difficult and complex. And it won't really yield you much. In fact, you end up with something which is too difficult and complex, and you actually have negative value as a result of that.
Mm. And then, is there any final like bits of advice you'd give to aspiring entrepreneurs that are listening right now that you haven't already given?
Uh, you know that it's hard. It takes a lot of energy and
Mhm.
time and skill and dedication. Um, you know, it's very rare to get instant overnight success. You know, when you suddenly see a business all over the place, or you know, new music star or new actor, they've been at it probably for years, and they've
Mhm.
finally sort of built up the base, and they're starting to get some momentum. So it takes time. I say, don't be afraid to, be dedicated to your vision, be dedicated to being running, creating a successful business, but don't hang your, onto one particular thing. If you've got a strategy or a tactic and it's, it doesn't smell like it's working, then don't be afraid to move away
Mhm.
from it and try something else. You're going to have failures. As they say, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So take some shots, have some failures, and when something's not, when you're not getting the ball in the goal, then it's time to move away. Not necessarily dump the whole vision, but just change the tactics and the strategy you're using to try and achieve it.
Mm. So you say it takes quite a lot of discipline then, because obviously some people would be trying to go into entrepreneurship while working in, let's say, 9 to 5. And obviously you do your 9 to 5, then all you really have then is the evening. And some people go, oh, I just want to sit back, relax, watch your TV. So it takes quite a lot of discipline to go, no, I want to go from this 9 to 5 and then work on my business, let's say 6 till 10.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's I mean that's another one which is burn the boats, guys. And by that I mean there's this kind of idea of um, military exercise where
mhm,
the leader takes people onto an island and says you've got to survive, and they burn the boats, right? I can't remember who the author was of this, or who said this, but so they took them onto the island and then they burnt the boats they used to get there. So they really would have to work
mhm,
out how to survive. They had no emergency escape route. And if you're kind of like, well, I'm not, I'm going to do this, but I'm a bit, unsure whether I can make a success of it. So I'm going to be, keep my day job or whatever, or have this
mhm.
escape route. You may well fail because you never put the energy and effort into making it work because you've got this escape route, you've got this easy way out. You've got like, oh, I'm exhausted today. I've got enough salary this month.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get on with this at the moment. You kind
So
of
it's,
making excuses. So you've got to burn the goat, but go, sorry, burn the boat.
yeah, no,
And
because obviously sometimes it's a case of you don't put enough time into it either.
yeah,
So we have 24 hours in a day. Everyone has the same. You got to put in the amount of time. Um, and something a bit off script that I haven't told you about yet, Tim, which I think would be useful is what would be Tim Watson's top 5 books to read as a beginner going into entrepreneurship?
oh, that's a nice one. Top five books. Well, I guess one of them would be Traction. I mean, it's
Hmm.
it's it's really insightful. I mean, it's for businesses kind of really 10 persons to 250 persons, but it's
Hmm.
it's it's very helpful anyway. Other great books. Uh, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, which
Hmm.
is all about negotiation. Um, Absolutely brilliant book. He's ex hostage negotiator, um,
Yeah.
and it's a great book. It's great stories, easy read. Um, there's a book called Extreme Ownership,
Hmm.
which is again an ex-military one, but that's a good one. Um, I love some of the books around book called Humble Inquiry, which is if you're working with other people, it's about how to interact with them. There's another one called Radical Candor,
Hmm.
which again is around getting honest and straight with people because most businesses are human powered at the moment anyway,
Yeah.
and probably they are going to be for forever, right? Computers and AI will supplement those humans, add to them, and solve some of the problems that you need a human
Mhm.
for at the moment, but it just elevate humans up further.
Yeah,
So
because the quote I heard on AI was AI isn't going to take all of our jobs. The people that utilize AI is going to take your jobs.
that's exactly the one, yeah. I'm old and long in the tooth, so I've seen it all before. Like, oh, computers are going to get rid of everybody's jobs. Oh,
Yeah.
this is going to get rid of everybody's jobs. That's it. Just the industry just changes. The opportunities and the for innovation change.
It's a
Uh,
lot of FOMO, fear of missing out. If
yeah,
you don't if you don't get this, your job's gone, sort of.
yeah, absolutely. And like when Henry Ford started coming out with his motor car, all the people who were making horse whips, they disappeared. So
Mm.
should we have gone, hey, no motor cars because it's going to hurt the horsewhip industry? Um, no, of course it hurt the horsewhip industry.
Mm.
But but then it generates a whole load of new opportunities. And that's what AI is going to do. It's going to generate a whole load of new opportunities, and things can elevate, people can elevate their games, people can get on, do stuff that they couldn't do before. Um, if you know use it right. So it's just going to let people achieve more.
Hmm. Well, like for example, like you can get code through it, so now you don't really. Obviously, it's useful to know code, but someone could just go at home and say, "Write me a game. I want it to be like this and do that and do that," and then all of a sudden they've got the code to do the game. So it's just allowed people to have more opportunities which they didn't before, but also open jobs like you've got. Oh, what was it? I saw something the other day. It was like a prompt engineer. So someone that gets the best prompts for stuff, which is obviously a job we've never seen before. So
Yeah,
along with deading some jobs, it's also building others.
absolutely. Yeah, you know, and that's a good one because I think my experience of AI was probably like most people's, which I've been an expert in driving search
Hmm.
engines, and you start to try and drive AI initially like a search engine. You put in like search requests on an AI system.
Hmm.
Hopeless, hopeless. That's not how to do it. You've got to use it. You've got to have really good prompts. So there's been a
Yeah.
lot, kind of around.
And it's getting powerful now as well. Like you can put in like graphs or images and it would come back and analyze all the data. So it's
Yeah,
definitely starting to hit a point where you could
yeah,
definitely use it to like back to your business ownership. You could put in like, I don't know, your ROIs into the system and get them to analyze it, for example. And there's just so much things you can do now which you couldn't before and would require manual labor as well.
yeah. But as you say, it's kind of. Is there a new job out there which is AI prompt engineer? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I've seen them.
I think it's a basic skill that everybody's probably going to need.
Whether it is like corporate based where it's like a large scale and you pay into it, or it's just freelance. But I definitely have seen like a few try and get into like the prompt industry where it's like I will because it's not a sense of they go into your account and they do the prompts for you. They give you ask them like what you're using it for, what you want, and then they build a list of like the best prompts so we can get the best results out of, if that makes a
Yes.
bit more sense.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I can certainly see that someone could set up a business as a AI trainer, training people how to get the most best from AI.
I mean something interesting I saw on TikTok actually, is that people are now actually starting to build businesses with just AI. Like
Yeah.
they picked the name with AI, they built the logo with AI. You can now build the website with AI. You then find the products with AI. So, and this going back to e-commerce industry where you sell products online. There's people that don't even build it themselves. They get the logo, they get the title, they find the products, they get to build description, title the products, find the best price for return on investments, and then like, I don't know, they pick the social media strategy for it, and then it just all generates for them. They don't even touch it.
So a lot of the dog work can be done for you, but
Mm,
ultimately it's how you drive the
yeah,
prompts. You've still got to innovate. You've still got, I mean, like if any old idiot can, create a business by driving AI,
yeah,
then again, it's kind of a race to the bottom. How are you going to make a business which is distinctive, better than, why are people going to do business with you rather than someone else?
mm,
So in that case, it probably comes down to, how well you drive the AI system to get the right answers. Because if you drive it with the wrong information, you'll get the wrong answers. It's still kind of like the old adage of from the 1960s of garbage in, garbage out, right? If you give AI the, bum information and bum context and drive it badly, it's going to give you bad results.
mm,
And there's still quite a problem with AI hallucination, as it's called, where AI gives you information which is wrong. And that'll
mm,
probably reduce over time, but you've got to be a bit smart. You've got to,
yeah,
like with any tool, you've got to know how to drive the tool effectively.
yeah. Because obviously with AI and building, obviously it's sort of like a wildfire around you. So it's sort of finding that sort of value that you can shine. So it's not just you're in the fire with them. People can see this is actually someone that brings me value. I want to buy into this instead of going off and finding somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
But unless you want to add anything or any lessons you wanted to desperately get out, Tim, I've run out of questions for you today.
Great.
So, is there any last bits you want to share out?
Well, I guess you were asking about entrepreneurship a little bit. So I guess the last thing I'd say is be accountable to yourself.
Mhm.
Set SMART goals. If you know SMART, specific, measurable,
Yeah.
attainable, realistic, time bound. Make sure they're really well defined, and be accountable to them. Get yourself, if you can't maintain accountability, get someone who's going to hold you accountable,
Mhm.
a coach or whatever. And if you're on a very low budget, like right here in Dorset, there's something called the Dorset Business Mentors. I
Mhm.
volunteer for them, so you can, for very little money, you can get someone to help mentor you and keep you accountable. So get someone who's going to be your accountability coach.
Mm. All right, perfect. Well, thanks for today, Tim. It's been a pleasure. And anyone listening, thanks for listening to this podcast today. Hopefully, you can go back through and watch any episodes that are already up. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Tim, for coming. It's been a
Thanks, Ben.
pleasure. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Bye.